Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Aramaic word study. I pray that it has been a blessing and continues to be a blessing to you. I am so thrilled. Just every word is a new discovery for me, and I just marvel at the depth of the understanding that can be gained from the words in this Aramaic language. And so we're going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go to the verses that we've been working on. Of course, we're in Acts chapter 1 and verse 9. And so you see it on your screen right now. And we're going to look at this first part. We'll call it Acts 1, verse 9a. And so what I have on the right side of the screen is what you get in Dukrana when you open it up by clicking on the flyout for where it says Acts 1 and 9. There's a hot link there that you can click on, and it'll bring up this page which allows you to do grammatical analysis. And so as we look at this, we see how these four translations handled this. Etheridge, Murdoch, and Lamsa are all translating from the Peshitta Aramaic language, and of course the King James is taking it from the Greek Textus Receptus. And so we see in the beginning, as they said, when he had said, when he had spoken these things, um, they're all kind of the same. But then there's some small differences. Etheridge says, while they beheld him, he was taken up. Murdoch says, while they beheld him, he was taken up. So it was identical. Lamsa says, while he ascended, while they were looking at him. Okay, somewhat of the same vein of thought. King James says, while they beheld, he was taken up. So just want to look at these words here for that comprise this short phrase of while they beheld him, he was taken up. Again, we try to picture what was occurring. Jesus had risen from the dead. He was speaking to his disciples before his final ascension here, and this is all leading up to when he ascended prior to the day of Pentecost, when he poured out his Spirit. So this was the final send-off. This was the final time that they had really had a chance to see him in a physical form. And so this was a very special occasion. There was a lot of emotions going on here. The disciples are obviously in a realm of something they had never encountered before during the 3.5 years that they were following Jesus. And so you have to expect that there's a lot packed in to these few moments of final parting. And so we look at the Aramaic on the side, on the left side here. And again, this reads from right to left. So it's Vechad Halein Amar, and Hebrew students would know that Amar is very similar to Amar. Again, these are words that are, at least in Hebrew, the Davar would be words that are spoken from the heart, and Amar are words that are more of a common conversation. So that stands out to me, as I would have thought this would be more of a deeper Amar. But again, this is they are relaying what they had seen. So these aren't words that Jesus is speaking to them, but these are common, like a reoccurrence of what they saw. So it's a recollection of what they saw. So Amar fits in that category. Chad, which is kind of a variation of the Vechad, and when after this you see, but the word see is what we're going to first take a look at here. Also want to point out, as we're learning some of the parts of speech, underneath kad and vechad are the word PART, which is a abbreviation for the word particle. Now, particle is a term that's used for a word that does not fit into the main parts of speech, meaning it's not a noun, not a verb, not an adverb, not a pronoun, not a adjective. And so when you see something that's a particle, it's still a very necessary part of speech, but it's not one of the main parts. It's one of the transitional fillers that take you and help fill in the meaning. So this is a particle, as we see here. Now, when we get to the word um, chayizayin, chayizayin, it is a verb. We see the G underneath it, meaning that it is just a textbook type similar to the cal form in Hebrew. So there's no intensity there that's relayed. But this word for see strikes me because it normally in Hebrew, when the word for see is ra'ah, and this is not ra'ah, this is very different from that. And as I read this, I just was thinking of what's going on here. Jesus is ascending up into the clouds. This can't just be a normal day. This is something very unique, very special. And I had a remez in my spirit that um, to an occurrence in the Hebrew Bible when the Ten Commandments were given, and when Moses ascended into the mountains. God is in the Mount Sinai, and the Ten Commandments are being given. There was something that has been well, I won't say troubling, but that has piqued the interests of Bible translators and students throughout the years. And this is the verse that made me think there's a parallel here. And let's see if you draw a similar conclusion or maybe not. But in Exodus chapter 20, verse 18, it says, "And the people saw thunderings and lightnings and the voice of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off." And what has always intrigued the students here and people who are translating and studying this is the people saw thunderings. How do you see a thunder that's a sound? How do you see the noise of the trumpet? Yes, you can see lightning. Yes, you can see the mountain smoking, but it says the people saw it. It doesn't say they heard it. And so this has triggered lots of commentary in that this occasion here where they were at the foot of Mount Sinai and God was interacting with them, of course, it scared them so much that in verse 19 it says, Moses, speak to God for us, and relay the information, and we'll hear you, but don't let us go through this again. Don't let God speak to us because we fear we're going to die. And so this was a very, very intense encounter. And many commentators have relayed that all of the senses that we have, all five senses, were active during this time. And that, we're normally used to just one or two senses or maybe three at one time. But when you're in the realm of the Spirit, when you're in God's realm, why wouldn't all of the senses be registering and active at one time? And so that's why they felt this was such an intense situation here when the Ten Commandments were given. And of course, that they saw the thunderings and they saw the noise of the trumpet. And I thought, could there be a parallel here between what was happening when Jesus ascended, which was just as, if not more, of a momentous occasion of him rising, resurrecting from the dead, yes, and rising up into the clouds? Why wouldn't there be some parallels here? And so that's where my mind was going. And of course, this word Chai Zayin reminds me more of the word for power and strength, which is chazak, which is a very common expression in Hebrew that when you're wishing someone strength, you'd say chazak, chazak, strength to you, strength to you. And so that kind of started me on this little quest here to look into this word um, for that's translated as simply see. So with that, we're going to take a look at the Yastros Targumim, and I already have opened that up to the root word where we look at the chet and then the Zion, and it's down here at the bottom of your screen. I'll try to make it a little bit larger so you can see it better. But it talks about a vision, that this is a vision. So that takes me in a deeper realm than just seeing something, because with our eyes we can see, but then we can look, which gives the impression that we're engaging in this event for a longer time. But now, when you apply it to a vision, it's taking you in a realm that is a deeper realm. You're immersing yourself more into this. And so let's look a little bit further into Jastrows and see what he has to share with us. So you remember that with the Hebrew and same with the Aramaic, you can look at the words in the lexicon or dictionary on either side of that word and look for some meaning that might give you a better indication. So what's interesting is the next word is lichen or moss, but look at the base for that word that is given because lichen grows on something, moss grows on something, and it's hiding something underneath. So this term of seeing something that's hidden, what did the disciples see? Interesting that this word is also comes up related to clouds, that clouds are hiding, that there's a thick cloud. Um, very, very cool that these words are all relating to one another. So it gives us just a teaser as to what was happening, what was being hidden. We know that the cloud hides him, but they were seeing something. There was a vision going on. They were immersed in this, and I believe there was more than just a sight involved. I believe that they felt something. I am surprised that this word is not in a intensive form. It's not in the D form, which is somewhat equivalent to a PL. I would have expected it to be a little more intense because this was a very, very emotional and intense episode that they're going through here, of where they beheld him, they watched him, they were mesmerized by what was going on. They were strengthened by it. You can understand how this word um, Chazain fits into this, all these emotions going on. So this is more than just looking at something happening. They say here in the tense that it's an active participle, which means that it could be continuing and lingering. It's a little more active than just if it was in a passive form. So that's where we're going to stop with this today, and just remind ourselves how beautiful this language is and the depths that we can get from this that maybe aren't seen on the surface, and that we can immerse ourselves in it, that we can have almost like a vision here of looking into these words. And I think that's an appropriate word, that we can be strengthened and see these words and understand these words and dig into the words and unpack them for a deeper meaning that will help us just to see how rich the Word of God is, and for Him to show us how much He loves us by having the privilege of being able to study His Word. So I pray that you are blessed by that, and that the Vahavta of loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength will be fulfilled in your life today. God bless you.